Good afternoon.
No.
I'm very pleased to welcome you to our session, which is organized WANO Moscow Center, Rosenergo, which is one of the largest operator in the world. Our session will discuss about how we support, what is the support of the newcomer countries, new operators, or even the matured experienced operators during this journey, the construction, commissioning of a new unit. The session motto is New Unit Operational Readiness, the challenges and opportunities. I'm sorry, I was looking for that word. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself and all the participants in the roundtable. My name is Sándor Nagy. I'm a Hungarian citizen, and my nuclear background started at Paks 1, and then later on I used to work for the MVM, which is the owner of the nuclear power plant, and then Paks 2, which is a new project company for the construction of 2 new units. And then for a short period, 2 years, I was also working with the WANO Moscow Center Governing Board. And then in 2015, I moved to WANO London office. So I've been working since then in London office. My first big rock was the creation of the 5th regional center, which you might know that it is in the track. And then according to the plan, in 2025, WANO will have a Shanghai Regional Center. So that's my background. And then I would like to give the floor to Mr. Aksionov.
Я буду говорить.
Aksionov Vasily.
My name is Vasily Aksionov. I've been in nuclear energy for 42 years, 26 of them working at NPP, 8 years in repair works in the Moscow Center. So I didn't change too many jobs. From the standpoint of WANO, I was a member of the board of directors of the Moscow Center for a long time, and now for quite a long time I have been the director of the Moscow Center. From the standpoint of new units and new construction, well, I don't have too much experience of that. 2 units at Kalininsky, NPP. When we and Anatoly came, we started with Mark 13 until we built the reactors, and then I was the chief engineer, and I had to feel the happiness that a technical director feels when the unit is launched. I'm finished.
Should I speak Russian or English? Maybe I also just to present myself in Russian, and then during the session I will be using English. Я Чудаков Михаил Валентинович.
Mikhail Chudakov, well, and Vasily launched the first and the second units of Kalininsky NPP with me. I've been working for MIFI, I've been working at Kalininsky NPP, I've been working at Rosenergo Atom. I was deputy director of a lot of departments. I was the director of the Bilubinsky NPP, deputy director of Rosenergo Atom. Before Vasily, I was the head of the Moscow Center, and I'm the deputy general director of IAEA. That's my background. And Mikhail actually had a good idea. There's another 2 persons from Kalininsky NPP here, the current chief engineer Akuyev Nikita Konstantinov.
Deputy CEO of Rosenergatom, but here at this panel I am in my capacity as a chairman of WANO New Unit Assistance Industry Working Group. I will tell about this group later during my presentation. I am also a nuclear engineer, spent all my career in nuclear industry. I started in Chernobyl, '86, after the accident as a health physicist, and then occupied various engineering and management positions till my current job, again as a deputy CEO of Rosenergatom. I was in charge of new businesses and international business. Thank you.
Здравствуйте, я Знов Михаил.
My name is Mikhail Iznov. I represent the Unit Commissioning Directorate, and I'm responsible for the launching of new units at Rosenergatom.
My name is from Hungary, and I've been involved in a nuclear new build project in Hungary, in the PAX-2 project, since the beginning, since 2014. Before that, I was involved in energy and electricity market research, also in a research institute, later in a ministry, and now I'm with PAX-2 project company.
Добрый день, коллеги.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Vitaly Kustum. I also launched the third unit of Kalininsky NPP. I was head of the shift at the unit, and 3.5 years I worked in Belarus as the chief engineer for the customer. And now I've been in Turkey for 3.5 years, and I'm the technical director of my company.
So, as you can see that quite a substantial, broad experience are in these roundtable presenters. And then, as it was mentioned, this meeting was organized by WANO Moscow Center. Mr. Aksionov, I would like to address you first, because you mentioned that you have a very broad experience in operating different companies. So would you please tell us how WANO, especially Moscow Center, supports the new members or the potential operators in that in those journey to construct and commission a new unit?
Thank you, Shandor. Well, the Moscow Center was lucky, actually, because there's a lot of new sites, a lot of new members, and when I came to the Moscow Center, we were actively working with Busser site with my colleagues. Then we worked in Belarus. Then there's Rupur is coming, and there's another NPP in Egypt, and they have already cast the concrete on the second unit, or at least they started. The WANO's main activity up to recent times was to generalize on the experience of operation and to disseminate the best practices. But in the long run, we paid attention to the fact that the nuclear community that operates civilian power plants did not have any novices, any new members. The situation was like that. Certain countries built nuclear power plants, and then new countries wanted to join, who wanted to operate nuclear power plants. You know that this is not an easy issue. I won't speak of the necessity to provide supervision and management and training. So the WANO, during the recent times, has been quite actively working with newcomers. According to our documents, we offer membership when people cast the nuclear concrete, well, the first concrete, but actually we start working with the newcomers much earlier. I would like to say that, well, Sander mentioned the working group. There was a working group on new units, and quite a lot of documents, or I think 18 documents were produced, 18 modules, which we use to work with the newcomers. We're talking about the safety culture, about the infrastructure. We're talking about interaction with the client, and so on. So these modules cover and embrace all of the issues quite profoundly, and we've developed training courses using those documents. So we are trying to engage the newcomers at an early stage. There are different ways of interaction. We meet their top management, we provide workshops, we provide training, we provide missions, and closer to the time of commissioning, certainly IAEA sends their ASART mission, and we tell them what an IAEA mission is. We provide examples from other NPPs, and when the IAEA mission comes, they know what the IAEA will be looking at and what they will be checking. So there's a variety of ways to interact, and we're trying to start to work with the newcomers at an early stage.
Thank you. Actually, you mentioned that WANO starts working with the new entrants in an early stage, but you know that IAEA, which is already mentioned, has much more wider or broader scope because they already contact the future operator owner when the idea was born. So, Mr. Chudakov, will you please share your experience how IAEA supports the newcomer countries, the potential operators, owners?
Thank you, Sander. Thanks for the question. That as I'm DDG of agency and I'm a director of Department of Nuclear Energy, and in our Department of Nuclear Energy, we also have that section, needs section, nuclear infrastructure development. And you're absolutely right that we have now in the world 32 countries who is operating nuclear power, and around 30 countries, even now more, who is declaring and would like to have in the future nuclear power in the energy mix. Some of them already constructing, like Bangladesh, like Turkey, and Egypt, some other countries. And we have the special program. We have the special program, so-called infrastructure development program. And this program was first inaugurated, started in 2009, so already 13 years. And during this program, we are covering all necessary areas that the country should create before start operation of nuclear power in order to operate in a safe and sustainable manner and prevent the emergency situation at the plant. And this is 19 issues in different areas, including that grids, finances, regulatory body operation, what to do with the spent fuel, and so on. Legislation, of course, that nuclear legislation. And we help countries, we have that so-called peer review. As any reviews, we have the documentations that help the country to create the self-assessment of the infrastructure. And then they invite us for the peer review for any missions, integrated nuclear infrastructure review missions. And we help them we invite experts in each areas, 19 areas, including experts from WANO, that we cooperate with WANO in this issue, and conduct our peer reviews and give recommendations, action plan, what to do, how to continue to create that good sustainable infrastructure. And we are happy that all countries accept our recommendations in spite of the all recommendations of agencies. They're just recommendations. They're not mandatory, but we are happy that all countries invite us. There is no one newcomer countries who is not conducted our reviews. And as example, that the Belarusian is a good example. They conducted all our peer reviews. The same as United Arab Emirates, UAE, they also conducted. Up to now, we have 34 missions in 24 countries. Missions more, because there is a follow-up missions, different phases missions. And these in-year missions also we divide on 3 phases. That phases is, if simply describe it, when the country is understand what is the nuclear and they are ready to order the nuclear power plant construction, when they start construction and when they start operation. 3 phases. And this our in-year program, we have that a lot of special reviews and interdepartmental reviews, a lot of reviews, not only nuclear energy, but reviews from the nuclear safety and security. We have SEED mission on the event, external event design mission, ERUR mission, regulatory body, how it's organized, and how they work with regulatory body, mission on physical protection, IPAS, physical protection missions, mission with safety and security, that pre-ASART mission, and then when start operation already ASART mission, operational safety. And we have the good communication and connection with WANO in order not to overloaded nuclear power plant and operation organization. And you know that we share information with WANO and WANO with us, and we are not overlapping and not conducting at the same days that WANO peer review and our SART missions. So all this set of missions is under the auspices, under the umbrella of our in-year program. And the country continue working with us. And this year we have planning next year. This year we have Sri Lanka, for example, that we have some exotic countries who never thought about nuclear power, that now more and more countries is thinking about nuclear power. Next year we have Zambia and Estonia who would like to create small modular reactors. This is not the only program that we are doing for the safe operation future nuclear power plant, but of course we are working in the area of capacity building and creating the good operation staff. We have the schools, knowledge management school, nuclear energy management school, just to educate the people who is involved in the nuclear industry in these countries. And we are working with the Technical Academy of Rosatom with other countries just to create that good staff, prepare the staff and capacity building for the countries. We are working in the areas of stakeholder involvement. You know that very important, and the public in the country support nuclear industry. We have examples like you all knows probably the Philippines, that Spain, Austria, what Austria hosting IAEA, that they constructed nuclear power plants, and then because no support and they didn't have support from very beginning of the nuclear power plant from different organizations and public acceptance, that they never put in operation this nuclear power plant. That's most important. I would say that the most important for construction nuclear power plant is that the governmental decision and strong support, and also public acceptance. This is the most. Sometimes that, of course, that countries asking me that we cannot create this infrastructure, it's so heavy for us, we need to create it 50 years, we never start operation. No, you just move in this direction and create some basement, and then that organizations like IAEA, like WANO will help you in continuing and continue modernize and make more better and better your structure. So just it's one of the examples. Of course, we are working with nuclear power plant in all areas of the operation and decommission and other. But because we are talking about a new nuclear power plant, we also, of course, member with one of this new units working group, and also participating in this roadmap operation readiness that WANO published. And we also making a set of publications of how to documentation necessary. Just I stop here because I can continue and continue. We'll eat all allotted time. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chudakov, for your very informative, detailed, comprehensive answer. Actually, you might know that at least since I joined WANO, for this number of years, the cooperation with these two organizations is better and better. You might know that the WANO Industry Working Group, the Independent Nuclear Safety Oversight Working Group, cooperation with the IAEA, published the first, and then so far just one document. This is the Independent Nuclear Safety Oversight Guideline. But as Mr. Chudakov mentioned, and then he showed us this document, which is again a very strong cooperation with IAEA, this roadmap. This roadmap was prepared with the new unit assistance industry working group. I have to emphasize industry working group because it is just WANO and IAEA supported. This is industry working group. And then, like Mr. Konstantinov mentioned, he heads up this industry working group. So, Mr. Konstantinov, may I ask you, why this new unit assistance industry working group has been established, and what is your experience with that, and how you prepared this roadmap? What is the idea behind how you would offer it to the industry?
Thank you, Mr. Knight. As I mentioned, I am a chair of this working group and executive of Rosenergoatom. I will tell you a few words about our group. This working group was established 5 years ago in response to the industry demand to assist new builds. The objective of this group is to develop effective and efficient operational capability for new nuclear builds in order to support safe and reliable nuclear power plant performance. It's quite a big group. The group includes more than 100 representatives from nuclear utilities worldwide, as well as, it was mentioned, experts from WANO and International Atomic Energy Agency. The most significant product of this group is a roadmap to operational readiness. Mr. Chudakov already demonstrated our common results. It's here, and it's really comprehensive document, about 400 pages. This document was developed back to 2020 and is currently available at WANO public website. You can also can find a digital copy of this document on your chairs and look it after the panel. And I would like to announce that a new revision of this roadmap, which become even more comprehensive document, will be available by the end of this year. The roadmap is a comprehensive new entrance guide to prepare for safe and efficient nuclear power plant performance. This roadmap had been developed based on recent nuclear industry experience with all types of new nuclear reactors. And the roadmap focused on operational readiness issue. What does it mean, operational readiness? This is the state of the plant, nuclear power plant, people, process, procedures, programs, and many other aspects which require to save nuclear power plant performance. And this state of the readiness is to be achieved prior to the fuel load. One may ask why this roadmap is helpful to a new nuclear entrant. Early in the project, and this is true, I mean, basically what I'm talking is the industry experience, so it's the facts. So organizations tend to focus their efforts to technological issues, commercial needs, contractual requirements, and operational safety and performance are often a decent concern. Industry experience shows that safe and efficient plant operation can be significantly affected by decisions made early in the project. Usually, a new nuclear project organization who are developing this new nuclear project comprised of person with limited so-called operational experience. And that is why the roadmap includes specifically important operational considerations during the early phases of a new nuclear project. But moreover, the roadmap contains operational guidance that is relevant to all phases of a new nuclear project till, let's say, nuclear power plant commercial operation. And even a project at the latest stages of completion can use the roadmap to take the actions to correct past decisions. As an industry, we believe the more you use the roadmap, the more you benefit. Now we have 56 nuclear units in 80 countries under construction. And as a chair of this group, I am confident that the roadmap will become a practical handbook for new nuclear operators management. And in conclusion, I would like to emphasize that the use of this roadmap is not mandatory, but strongly encouraged. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Konstantinov. May I challenge you, because I believe a little bit you are modest. This year, this industry working group published another document. You know that when WANO was established, the first program was operating experience. WANO website contains more than 20,000 different event description, but the most important events or series of events initiate a so-called significant operating experience report, SOER. And then this SOER contains recommendations. These recommendations is obligation for all WANO members to carry out. But for that, it should be someone, member of WANO, but new unit assistance industry working group, especially the very strong push of Mr. Konstantinov, published a document. Would you please, Mr. Konstantinov, just tell something how it could be applied and used for the new units and the new operators?
Yeah, thank you for this question. As I said, this roadmap is the most significant product of the group, but not the only product of the group. And this is true. The group working on several important documents. They all, one way or another, related to operational aspects of new nuclear power plant. And the one document which Ms. Knight mentioned, which was endorsed by the group as an industry document, is significant operating experience record guideline. We, as a group, as an industry representative, strongly feel that this document is I would say compulsory. However, as I mentioned, any industry document is just a recommendation to the industry based on the industry experience. But we feel that this document will be extremely useful to any new nuclear project organization, and in particular at the early stages of the project, when you can implement the WANO recommendation regarding significant operating experience record even into the contract documents which you are negotiation with your vendors. So we believe that this document as well will be useful to any new nuclear project organization, and will continue assist WANO to develop, based on our let's say recommendations, to develop WANO formal guidelines, which then can be used by all WANO members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Konstantinov. So, as you might conclude that support and services to the WANO, to the members of the industry is mainly concentrating on the newcomer countries or the new potential operators. But this is not true. Mr. Konstantinov mentioned that every new unit, even those who are experienced, the country or the company or the utility has broad nuclear experience, can utilize that. And then this one of these, as mentioned, Rosenergoatom. So I would like to ask Mr. Lisunov, who is Mr. Kotsunov deputy, how Rosenergoatom supports the commissioning. What is the experience of the new units, new countries, and also the more matured companies' commissioning process?
Thank you for the question. I would like briefly to remind you that Rosenergoatom is the second biggest operator in the world. Right now we have operating 11 NPPs with 37 units. Since we commissioned the so-called 3+ units with the better safety parameters, we also commissioned such unique facilities as a floating NPP and BN 1200. The Rosenergoatom is planning to build 2 units at Kursk, NPP2. We are working at Leningrad NPP. We'll be building units 3 and 4 at Smolensk NPP. There are plans to further develop the Kursk NPP, and we're planning to build BN 1200. In order to provide the commissioning of all those new units that we have planned for, the concern has a separate unit, a separate division on commissioning. The Rosenergoatom provides high efficiency thanks to constant development of documents. We develop special programs for commissioning of each site. We
готовности блоков.
have special programs for providing the readiness of the units by the time they are being commissioned. The Rosenergoatom also has a lot of competences in providing the start-up work and VNIS, and also the WANO that supports us and systematizes all our experience and provides a lot of useful knowledge on operation. To implement foreign projects, we have decided to use Rosenergoatom, which has a lot of competences in commissioning the new units, and also set up a new subdivision for foreign NPPs. Right now, we're actively involved in Belarusian project, providing the commissioning of new units at Paksha, Rubur, and others. We are trying to do our best to transfer all of our experience to foreign sites and to use it there. So all of our experience, all the sequence of commissioning operations will be applied in all of our foreign projects, providing our support. That's it from me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one question, because you mentioned the several sites you are engaged. What Rosenergoatom does when it turns out that the new operator has not enough qualified staff for the commissioning and for the operation, and then the stage is already at that moment. So what could you do that with that situation?
Thank you for the question. Well, that's really happens, that we have an experience of entering the newcomer countries' sites where when they provide, when they have already built the infrastructure and are ready to launch, but the personnel quality is not adequate. I mean the operating personnel and the administrative personnel. So whatever the country is, we must take the cultural specific features into account. But right now, our practice is as follows. We set up branches in the countries where we implement our projects. I mean Rosenergoatom branches, like we set up the same branches in our country. And we involve our own qualified personnel in order to provide the startup, and we train the local personnel The personnel of the foreign customer, I mean.
Thank you, Mr. Lisanov. That I believe it is not just the operating stuff, but also maintenance, engineering, and all other which you can offer to the new units. Is it true?
Да, вы
Yes, you're absolutely right. Because when the unit is being commissioned, we have a number of stages for commissioning. One of the stages is the so-called equipment revision, when the maintenance personnel are being trained, and certainly when we commission a unit, we interact not only with the operating personnel, but also we pass on our administrative experience to the administrators, to the management, and to all other services which provide the supervision and control functions in the newcomer countries.
So far, as you can get it, the donors or those companies or organizations told us their experience, who provides the services and support. So that's the high time we listen to someone who receives this support. So one company is PAX2, my former company. And then I would like to ask Mr. Hugyec how you would use these quite broad services just mentioned, all these organizations, IAA, WANO, and also the vendor, or the future operators company. Please, Mr. Hugyec.
Chandra, thank you very much for the question. First, what you have to know that, as it was mentioned before, and as you most probably know, Hungary is not a newcomer country. We already have a nuclear power plant that has been in operation for more than 40 years now. So we are lucky enough to have an established educational and nuclear R&D system in the country. We have several universities teaching nuclear physics, nuclear engineering, and related stuff. So we are lucky enough to build on this experience. Second, we are lucky enough to build on the operational experience we made with the old units, with the current units in operation. And third, coming to your question, we are preparing to the operational phase, basically, based on also on our EPC contract, because in our EPC contract that we concluded with the Russians for the 2 new units, we have an operational preparation section. This includes that the Russian organization is helping us, is educating our new colleagues who are going to be the teachers of the operational personnel. And now 8 simulator instructors are already being trained, and another 42 instructors are just being selected by our company, and they are going to be the instructors of the future operational personnel. And another aspect of our preparation is the book there, the roadmap to operational readiness, elaborated by the new unit assistance industry working group. We are using this document. Based on this, we have elaborated an industry support plan, and in this industry support plan, we decided that we will invite 2 missions. The one from WANO, before the first new unit is coming online, before the first nuclear fuel is delivered to the site. We will invite the WANO pre-startup review team to Hungary and to assess our operation preparedness. And second, after the first unit comes online and before the second unit is started, we will invite an IAEA review team, the pre-OSART review team, to assess our operational readiness. So we are really happy to learn. So despite of all our experience in the country and in the current nuclear power plant, we are happy to learn, and we are using the roadmap to operational readiness, and we are going to use the WANO key modules also during preparation, and also invite reviews from the WANO and also from IAEA.
Thank you, Mr. Hujac. You might attend the plenary session when Mr. Szijjártó told us how important the nuclear energy for Hungary to provide the independence of the nuclear or the power industry, the power generation, but not only for Hungary. That we also received the Turkey presentation that was also highlighting the importance of the nuclear energy. But Turkey selected or chose a different way how to implement or construct and operating a new unit. So I would like to ask Mr. Kustov, who is the technical director of this Akkuyu power plant, tell us please what is the BOO, build, own and operate, this model, and what is the benefit, and how do you plan it to operate that station?
Thank you for the question. The main idea of our model that we are using is that the company, the supplier, the vendor, does not only provide the construction and operation down to decommissioning, but also is an investor. We are responsible for the economic visibility of the project, whereas the Turkish Republic, which is the client, provides the conditions for the implementation of this project. We also are responsible for funding the project, and BOO is bigger than just an economic model. It actually provides for our responsibility at every stage. What do I mean? When we build a NPP for a new country, we remain in this country for the period of operation for 60 years with the right to further expand the operational time. We help them with laws, we help them develop competences and so on. And in our project, we don't only build the first NPP in Turkey, we lay a foundation for a new high-tech industry. And we create a basis for the Turkish nuclear industry. Our approach is to share our experience to help our partners at all stages of implementing their peaceful nuclear initiatives. One of the formats of that is training qualified personnel in the Turkish Republic. Long before we started the construction, that was in 2011, we initiated a program for training Turkish experts in Russian universities and institutes, such as MIFI, St. Petersburg State Polytechnical University, and so on. Between 2011 and 2022, we trained about 300 Turkish experts. It's worthwhile mentioning that the agreement has a number of 600. We will be working on that. All of them will be future workers. The graduates of the programs are already working at the technical directorship in reactor workshop and in other subdivisions. The guys have a unique opportunity to participate in building the unit from the scratch. That is, building the facilities, assembling the equipment, and so on. And we only take experts after they are trained at currently operated Russian NPPs. And under the guidance of experienced experts from Rosenergo-Atom, we train the Turkish personnel. The Rosenergo-Atom also helps us to provide experienced operating personnel who will pass on their competences to the Turkish young experts, and then those Turkish experts will train their personnel at the NPP. And that continuity and this method provides timely training, replacement of personnel, and works for our common priority, which is safe operation of the NPP. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Just one question, if I may. My experience was that I participated in the commissioning. And then later on, during operation, that was very useful for me because there were many places which cannot be they cannot visit during operation. So later, even the maintenance is very difficult. So you mentioned that the on-the-job training of the new engineers, the Turkish engineers, but would they staff participate in the ACU units commissioning from the beginning up to the start up?
Well, I mentioned it when I answered your first question, that they have a unique opportunity for the Turkish guys to learn the construction of the NPP from the very beginning. So it is construction work, it is installation of equipment, so they are fully involved in this process. Well, more than that, we are building a modern training center. It will be commissioned next year, and based on that center, we will also train subsequent Turkish experts who will be working at the Turkish NPP.
Thank you so much. Now it's time that you ask all the presenters here, please. Any question, provoke, or challenge the presenters? Oh, yeah, there is one.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everybody. Ferenc Leber from Hungary, from the Paks2 company. As we know, the roadmap has been elaborated 2 years ago, approximately. And I would like to some information on the usefulness of this document based on the feedback from the users. This would be the first question. And the second one, whether it is useful for small modular reactors as well, or should you or we elaborate a newer version for this task? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Leber. I believe Mr. Konstantinov is the more...
Thank you for this question. Yes, indeed, as an industry working group, we are really concerned how useful this document is for the industry. Basically, we are established by the industry to provide an assistance. And so far, we have a positive feedback from several companies who engage with the new nuclear builds, how they use this roadmap, but moreover, this is a live document, so as I mentioned in my presentation, new revision of the roadmap, which includes a lot of feedback, and more recent more recent experience with the nuclear projects will be, it's actually ready and will be available for WANO members by the end of this year. With regard to your second question, I mean, yes, indeed, small modular reactor is the mainstream of nuclear industry as of today. I'm representing the company who is already operating one of the modern floating nuclear power plant with small modular reactors. And some elements of the roadmap to operational readiness are, let's say, generic to any reactor type and can be used by new nuclear organization. But in order to better respond to the industry demand with regard to small modular reactors, we within the group decided to establish a dedicated small modular reactor subgroups, and the kickoff meeting of this subgroup will be probably till the end of the year. And yes, the main objective of this subgroup, small modular reactor subgroup, as well as our new unit assistance industry working group, will be to address operational readiness issues. And here, more specifically, we will review and elaborate on different operational readiness aspects of small modular reactor. However, with limited industry experience, very, very few completed projects. One I mentioned of Rosenergatom. It will be definitely a very challenging job to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Меня слышно, да? Can you hear me? Kazakhstan. My question is as follows. Can you tell me the new models of reactors, for instance, VVER 1200, so reactors like this, do they make it possible to change the operating mode during operation? And then how long does it take? Because when the system operator works, quite often the system operator has to change the workload. That's my question number one. And the second question is that we are speaking about low costs of nuclear energy, but how much is it per kilowatt hour? Could you give an idea, please?
Да, значит, по первому вашему.
Well, as regards your first question, I can answer it. Nuclear power plants, 1,200 for Russian nuclear power plants, for 100, 180. Currently, system operators have not asked for any other types, but when it comes to the ATOMEXPO project, we have conducted a series of experiments, and we have proved that basically it is safe to operate them at maneuver operating modes of 150 to 100. That is to say, it's rated power 150, then we go to 150 and then get back to 100. There are certain limitations. The rated capacity can be reduced by 30%, and then we can use a rated workload. The velocity of discharging a reactor plant with a power of 100% uses at a rate of 3% per minute. Unfortunately, as far as your second question is concerned, I couldn't answer it now.
I answer your question. First, I can confirm that the Hungarian VVER 1200 unit will be able to operate in a load following mode. So the numbers are, as it was mentioned, 3% per minute is the rate of change. Third, there are a number of cycles where it is limited. For example, between 90 and 100%, you can use it a million times roughly during the lifetime, of course. Of course, between 50 and 100%, there is a smaller amount of limitation. Several thousand cycles can be done within this 50 to 100% range. The question to answer to your second question, how much does it cost? Our project includes two units. The construction cost is at 12.5 billion euros, and based on our calculations, the levelized cost of electricity per megawatt hour is roughly 50 to 55 euros a megawatt hour. So 50 to 55 euros a megawatt hour.
Прошу прощения, это...
Well, with your permission, what you have just described is the specific cost per unit, but the question was about rates of nuclear energy. Well, in Russia we have a partly regulated nuclear market, and the prices can be quite different. That's why we cannot say, we wouldn't risk saying how much it is per kilowatt hour. Well, I would like to make three points now, speaking about the units for new entry countries. I believe there are quite a few important things to take into account. First of all, in what language are they going to operate the facility? For instance, in the United Arab Emirates, they have the world-known Baraka nuclear power plant. There, the language used is English. So what personnel is going to operate it? In the United Arab Emirates, 1/3 is the locals, 1/3 is the Korean company that constructed it, and the third part is volunteers who arrived from Europe. That is to say, it is basically English, but the personnel is quite heterogeneous. That's why they have had problems with the language they use for communication. That is to say, with intercultural communication. And now another thing is how a nuclear unit is going to be commissioned. Certainly, there are possibly people who someday will describe these procedures after a while, but I have just described what happened in Baraka, where they employed new personnel, they trained them very quickly, and they therefore use their local specialists. But I can recall now the experience in Bushehr in Iran, where a specialized Russian company had trained personnel of the Bushehr NPP. Previously, they had been trained in Russia, but for a while they were they were standing behind the Russian specialists who were operating the nuclear power plant. At that time, it was 350 people. Today, they only have 3 full-time local people. That is to say, over 6 years, based on just step by step, they kept removing the operating company specialist. Another example is Belarus, which is another new entrant. They also had a Russian organization license there, but in Belarus, first of all, they have quite a highly developed culture, engineering culture, and they have various specialists for operation and maintenance. So they actually hired personnel from other NPPs, both from Russia and from Ukraine. That is to say, they manned their new NPPs with personnel they borrowed from other countries, and now they have been operating quite well. So there are important points here: the language used for operation, the language used for documentation, and how soon it will be possible to switch over to using local personnel.
Thank
question.
you. Another
Can I
question.
ask a question?
Thank you very much. Yeah. Anatoly Kirichenko, WANO. 1 week ago, we returned from Akui, where we organized big forum, Technical Directors Forum. It's big. It was a really unique forum when participants, all technical directors. In case, thank you very much. 2 months ago, we organized big conference, nuclear safety conference in Oder, Ferenc U. And I could submit you a lot of example where we assist new units. Question. All speakers today submit us good skills, good practice, good existing activities. How do you see a future? What's the future? How developed our assistant newcomers in future? Have you got some ideas? How develop this assistant, not only in existing routine practice in according to this book?
Thank you, Anatoly. Do you address the whole roundtable, or just you have someone? You first. Me first. I'm the moderator. Okay, but I try. Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. You know that, so that support is not as a static. So we cannot say that we have a model, a standard, and we use, it is not just, let's say, a size of shoe of 56, it's good for everyone's feet. So we always have to take into account the customer, the culture, and then the tradition, how they want to develop. Of course, when you start a new unit, especially the newcomer countries, they do not even know what the journey is, what challenges they will be facing. And then we tell them. And then depending on their other industry experience, then their background, their supporting institutes, they might suggest something different. Like Mr. Konstantinov said, that this roadmap, this is just a possibility. But of course, several items can be picked up, several not, or even use a new ways. And then we, as the supporters, I mean also IAEA, WANO, and the other supporting organizations are open to do that. So if I just go back for, let's say, 10 years, I'm talking about IAEA. So the IAEA support and services within these 10 years changed dynamically. And then I asked Mr. Chudakov that continue that, because I believe this is a very important process, how you do that.
You know that, as I mentioned from very beginning, actually, my department support all nuclear cycle, from mining, conversion, only enrichment we are not doing. Then producing fuel, then operation, preparing to operation, new unit, then operation, then decommission, and then spend fuel. All fuel cycle, whole life of nuclear power. So just for operation support, we have much more assistance even added for the new units. This is also, as Shadar mentioned, that all traditional reviews and workshops, seminars, exchange of good practices in maintenance, in economic, in different school, just our feedback on reflecting the different arising issues that creating the new programs. For example, together with WANO and OECD and WNA as an international organization, we for 2 years we were following that pandemic and created that nuclear power plant in operation during pandemic. So we have to report every quarter and presented our board of governors and exchange with WANO with this information, how nuclear power plant is working. So we immediately, if some problem and some challenge arise, immediately have reflection and working on this problem together with other international organizations. And also just we have a lot of support, different e-learning, only databases. Only in our department we have more than 50 databases. It's like that pre-system, all you know, that showing that conditions of all nuclear power plant in the world, any system where that all information related to the nuclear activities in the world, not only for the nuclear power plant, but any facilities, more than 4 million records there that and highly used by our member states. That database related to research reactors, to spent fuel, to decommissioning, and so on. And we can have a lot of reviews, dozens reviews that I'm talking just not only a SART mission of operations that Department Nuclear Safety and Security doing, but we conduct a lot of with waste together with NS, so-called ATOMEXPO mission, and how conditions of the waste and what to do, spend fuel, and a lot of different reviews that can of course be modernized by year, that depending on the necessity of this review and the changing situation. Also with new old units in operation, digitalization of the main control room, that artificial intelligence, and so on, just. And we are working together with WANO and other international organizations. So I would like to highlight for the operation units, we have much more support than just for starting units, new units.
Thank you, Mr. Chudakov. Unfortunately, we pressed for time. We have to give this room for another meeting.
Shanda, I'm sorry, it's me.
Yeah, sorry.
A lady behind the column several times want to ask a question. I think it would be fair if you give a floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Constantino.
Thank you very much. I'm Olivia Limpeao from the Philippines. And I'm raising this question because Mr. Chudakov mentioned that, unfortunately, our country is one of those that never operated our nuclear power plant because of lack of support and because of, those NGOs that were really against the operation of a nuclear power plant. So I'm just wondering if any of you are helping the Philippines, because it's an appeal for us, for me as a citizen of the Philippines, if I hope we could operate that nuclear power plant. As our country borrowed a lot of money, it's fully paid for and fully built and operational. I don't know if it's operational, so maybe it could be considered a new unit, using your roadmap to operate it. If I don't know if the IAEA has done its checks on the plant, but I really hope, it's more of an appeal that maybe you could help the Philippines so that we will be, that finally it could be put to good use, because after all, it's taxpayers' hard-earned money that went into the building of that unit. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I will quickly answer. Of course, we are following, and I visited personally your nuclear power plants, and this nuclear power plant was created 30 years ago and never was in operation because of public acceptance. That's why I brought this example. And when the government is trying to restore this plant, I strictly believe it's already, you don't need to do it, because this is only 3 units left. Like this, it's Krsko. This is the same design, and this is in Korea 1, who is already shut down. That's but they operated many years because they were modernized and used in WANO and IAEA activities, and all modernized every year. But the units was sustained 30 years, even maybe 40 years. I forgot already when it was, and never put on operation. So the attempt to put in operation these units, it's not good idea. But the site and the grids allowed their construct one units 1200, construct the Russian units 1200 there, and the site allowed us to do it nearby with this old unit. And I know that your also government invited Korean to check this plant and paid a lot of money there. But investment in this old nuclear power plant, it's not the best idea. That the same what I told the Minister of Energy, Mr. Kuzi. And also just when I like his answer to the newspaper, mass media, when they ask, we have a lot of tsunami and we have the earthquakes, and he said that we have a lot of earthquake and tsunami for these 30 years, but nothing happened with nuclear power plant. No any cracks, no breaks. Don't you think if we there not stop our nuclear power plant, we would live in another country like Korea, like South Korea? That answer was very impressive, just to the mass media. So of course, Philippines needs nuclear power, but maybe not the high commercial operation nuclear power plants. Maybe small modular reactors, because you have more than 8,000 islands. And this is, I think, that the era for the Philippines, it's small modular reactors for the future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chudakov. First of all, I apologize for that lady, because that pillar just hid you, so I didn't see it. I couldn't have wrapped up better than Mr. Chudakov did in his previous answer. So what I have to do is just thank you for all our speakers. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for Mr. Chudakov and the Moscow Center, Rosenergoatom, to organize this meeting, and also everyone who participated in that preparation, and again, or interpreters for the excellent job they have done. Thank you, and have a nice day, ladies and gentlemen.
On behalf of WANO and Rosenergoatom, we would like to thank you to all participants for your attendance, and have a good day.